students in the 1960s. Okay, now first of all, it gives the impression that actually there wasn't much rebellion in the 1960s. Okay, grew your hair, sit-ins, experimented with drugs and sex, did precious little work before settling down to no respectability they'd formally rebelled against. Rebellion had been no more than fitting in with their fellow students. Okay, so what we've got here is obviously we're going to try and do two things. We're going to try and say no, we're not surprised, we don't believe it, yes we do believe it. Okay, first of all for no, alright, that's fairly straightforward, it should be. Yeah? We know lots of stuff about kind of the good examples of Vietnam demonstration and lots of other demonstrations where students got involved, okay, and genuinely rebelled against what was going on, alright. Also we know with certain fashions like the miniskirts and stuff like that, that many people were actually kind of challenging their authority figures, so we could go for no in terms of both protests and in terms of fashion. Alright, we could also go for like the down talking. Alright, experimenting with drugs and sex, for example, might be an issue that you pick out, because ultimately that is an act of rebellion. Okay, that is different than what had gone before, and certainly the 1950s would have seen like young people copying their parents, okay, and not doing these kind of experimentation. So even though it kind of mentions that, it kind of underplays it, it's not that big a deal, but actually perhaps for some people it was, okay. Yes, because you do believe about it. Most students were not involved in protest or demonstrations. A poll at Leeds University in 1968 showed 86% of students thought student politics was boring. Okay, so many people just actually continue to get on and get involved with that. Could link it back to the earlier stuff about the rebellions on the south coast, been exaggerated by the press, and maybe perhaps this rebellion or the rebellions of students have been exaggerated by the press. Okay. Yeah, but of course source G does explain this sit-in, okay? It's from the Student Union paper, alright, so it's obviously going to be biased, okay? Yeah, and they're talking about the direct action that they took. So clearly there's lots of students in here involved with this, and therefore source G makes you question what source F has said as well. Okay, remember to get the top marks, 8 or 9, you're trying to say yes and no, and try and think about evaluating both sources. Okay, so if you just forget about G, you can still probably get 7, but to definitely get to the top band, we've got to use G as evidence as well. And the last question, young people in Britain in the 1960s were out of control. Okay, how far do the sources in this paper support this statement? What I'd do is obviously I'd look to see what agrees with that statement, and I'd be looking for probably 3 sources. Okay, there's other 3 sources in the paper that do agree. Okay, and I'd probably look to evaluate the reliability of 1 or 2. Should have put instead of half there, or 2. Yeah, that's definitely true. Alright, so I'd start with that. I'd be looking to agree 3 sources, evaluate the reliability of 1 and 2. Alright, and then I'd look to go on from that, and I'd look to disagree with the question. Again, I want 3 sources. If I can find 3 that disagree with the question, and again, I want to evaluate the reliability of 1 or 2. I'll be adopting that pretty much as a kind of structure in a way as to what I want to do with that. Okay, to get ourselves 8 or 10 marks, we're going to have to get a balanced answer together. Alright, it's got to be balanced to get into that category. You can't just have just agree or just disagree. Okay. Also, you can get up to 2 additional marks for the reliability, which is why I mentioned it there and there. Yeah, they evaluate the reliability there and there. And obviously to get the top level answer, we need to finish having done that by saying how far the sources agree. And that's the question. And what obviously it's after is a conclusion. Yeah, how far the sources agree in the conclusion. Yeah, so we'd obviously look 1 there, 2 there, and then 3 there. Alright, and that'll get you into the top marks. Remember, you've got to evaluate the sources. Alright, there's some good examples in the mark scheme. Source C says most young people were not involved in trouble, were just hanging around. Source F says the vast majority of students just played at being rebels, so that disagrees with the statement. Obviously agree with the statement. Okay, look at that picture of the guy chucking something on the beach. Look at the cartoon as well. Split them up, all right? Remember this thing that's key, okay? It's a small number of sources, well developed, is just as worthy of a large number treated lightly. So even if you don't get 3 sources in each one, you can still be in a position where you can still do well. All right, so might go into 2 sources, but evaluate it well.